All right, what's up, guys? Another episode of the Growth by Shawn podcast here. So it's going down with Ben Walker today. Ben, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Sean. I'm stoked to be here.
I love it when people bring that good energy to me. It's what it's all about. So yeah, we connected just mutually on Instagram, most likely through Enlifted, something like that, or a common connection. And here we are. So I'm pretty pumped. But what you do for the majority of work is help people throughout procrastination. Um, so I'll let you take the floor and just expand on that as you please.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I help procrastinators get shit done. And it wasn't until I started really working with procrastination that I realized what a massive issue it is
Mm,
for so many people. And there are people who are literally procrastinating their potential away
mhm,
because they sit down to do their thing and then it's, oh wait, no, I got to go do the dishes, or no, I should really organize my space first. And before you know it, they're exhausted because they've been switching back and forth between all these things, but they've got nothing done. And
mhm,
now they're sitting there scrolling on Instagram. And
mm,
when I started like looking into this, it really like made me reflect pretty hard on my own procrastination and where that's shown up for me. And what was interesting is it showed up for me differently than a lot of people. For me, it showed up with relationships, specifically
mm,
ending relationships. I had it was like a serial monogamist, and I would definitely be in relationships way longer than I should have been.
mhm,
Um, and it like the most recent one where I really, it was like really in my face that the procrastination was happening was, we'd actually, I'd already tried to break up with her at one point, and then somehow, I don't even remember how it happened, I ended up getting roped back in. um Even then though, I was still procrastinating because she found out because she checked my phone.
mm,
So I wasn't even able to like make the step to do it. And it was, she, through all these signs, like she didn't support my vision. I wanted to go off and travel. She wanted to settle down. Um, there were issues of like she was one day she was watching my Venmo requests, or my Venmos on Venmo, the Venmo feed. She's like,
yep.
"Why did so and so send you an eggplant?" I was like, "It was a joke." She's like, "Well, it was weird." It's like, it was a dude. I'm dating you. You know I'm not gay. So what?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of those things where, like, nothing against her specifically or any judgment. It was just, look, this is clearly our lives going in different directions. But I was so focused on being the perfect boyfriend
Mhm,
and not wanting to be the bad guy, always wanting to be, the knight in shining armor. I'll be the best boyfriend you've ever had.
mhm,
And I was so wrapped up in trying to be perfect that I made myself miserable.
mm,
And I as much as I wanted to end it, there was something blocking me from doing it. And it was getting in my own way all over
mhm,
the place because it was causing me to miss out on certain opportunities. Like I had an opportunity, my first opportunity to do plant medicine, and she
mhm,
was like, "Whoa, super, super against it." Like she
mm,
wanted me to have a psych eval first, and then she had to be there.
okay.
And understandable if that's her thing, but that didn't align with me. But still, trying to be the perfect partner. We're like, oh no, no, okay, you're really upset. I'll do whatever you need to be happy.
Mhm,
But I wasn't happy. And if I looked into the future of what that relationship was going to be, it was really like draining to think about.
mhm,
And there were all these things where she wanted me to make commitments. She wanted me to talk about marriage, talk about kids. And for a while, and I was really resistant to doing it. And even though deep down, I wouldn't even admit it to myself that the reason I didn't want to talk about marriage with her was because I wanted to break up with her.
mhm,
So it was this cycle, this endless cycle of procrastinating on that thing that I knew I needed to do. And then I went to a really powerful retreat called Training Camp for the Soul, and had my mind opened, cracked wide open in a very impactful way. And it became crystal clear to me in a moment. I was like, we got to break up.
Mm,
So I did it that night.
mhm,
And since then, that really unleashed for me this tidal wave of taking action, where like I'm known now amongst my friends, amongst my colleagues, as being someone who moves really fast. So I have a really high speed of implementation. And it's all because in that moment of realization, I let go of my perfectionism. And I knew that I had to get out of my own way in order to find my way and know what direction I wanted to take my life. And if I continued to be a perfectionist, I would procrastinate and I would find excuse after excuse after excuse and I would never reach my potential. So since then I've gotten really passionate about helping people through that same thing because I've witnessed firsthand how debilitating and miserable procrastination is. So
mhm.
that's why I love helping people get shit done.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've listened to many different podcasts, or not even podcasts, just scrolling through Instagram, different lives that you've done on procrastination and things like this. And to me, I view procrastination as such like a base level thing that we're trying to fix where really it's so deeper than just I do this instead of this. So for you listening to that, it gave me more reassurance of it's not just that I want to do this and I'm doing that, but there's something deeper inside that you have to shift that identity in order to become someone that does get shit done as opposed to doesn't get shit done. Is that true of where I'm going with this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, think about it, it's not even a matter of, well, I'd rather do this, so I'm going to do this. I was on a call with a guy once who said, "Yeah, I just cleaned my dishwasher. What the hell is going on?" No one wants to clean their dishwasher,
Mhm,
but as soon as you have a really important work task you got to get done, oh, suddenly that dishwasher's really important.
mhm,
And it ultimately comes down to it's not a matter of being lazy
mhm,
or not having motivation or not being disciplined. It's you're afraid of making a mistake. You're afraid
mm,
of the discomfort, the embarrassment, the shame of putting yourself out there and messing up.
mhm,
So rather than face that, you'll distract yourself with something meaningless so you can still fool yourself into thinking you're being productive
mhm,
when you're really avoiding the discomfort. And
mm,
that's why people are exhausted, procrastinators especially, exhausted at the end of the day because they spent all day running away from their fears,
mm,
whether that's literal or, you know, psychologically.
yeah,
And that's exhausting. And then because of all of that, there's no energy for the thing you actually needed to get done.
mhm. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear that too, because when I look at all of the things that I wanna do and get done, even if it's just on a daily, like, task list that I've set for myself, um, there's many times when I just don't wanna do something. Is that not wanting to do it also stemming from that fear, uncertainty, and, um, just having a, "I don't believe that I can do this," or are there some things that we just don't wanna get done because it's not that it leads to an uncomfortableness, but it's not enjoyable for us? Where do
Mm.
you start to draw that line, and how does fear come into those situations?
So, question for you: what's an
Yes.
example of one of those to-do list things that you'd rather not do?
Hmm. Let's say I let me go through my list of things that I did today. Um, this morning, I did not want to get up and do cardio.
Mm. So, cardio, I imagine this is my projection. I imagine
Mhm,
that's because it's a tedious, monotonous task for you,
mhm,
right? So, you wanted to avoid the discomfort of a tedious and monotonous task.
That's right. Yeah. I'm glad you're pushing me back. Like I'm wanting to understand, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
That's the thing is it's always procrastination is always some kind of avoidance. The most common one
mhm,
is fear of not being
mm,
perfect.
okay.
The other one, procrastination, B we could call it, is that's gonna be so boring.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. The irony is most of the time it actually takes 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you get it done. You're like, why was I procrastinating on that? It was so easy.
Yeah. Now, when I look at that now, um, these like tedious tasks, like let's stay on cardio for me, right? So for me, it's that getting uncomfortable. I don't feel like doing it per se. Um, and it's coming from something uncomfortable. Now, is there a way that you help people just do the task or make the task more comfortable and want to do that task?
Yeah, I love that question. Um, so what I always bring it back to is I love the word devotion.
Mm,
And to me, devotion is the next evolution of discipline, where uh there is like the resistance is gone
mhm,
because you're so devoted to either a goal or a practice
mhm,
that that you're working on. So for example, by for me, by December 13th, 2072, I am the oldest person to free climb the nose of El Capitan. That is my life goal, to be the oldest person to do it. So at 31, I now put every decision I make through that lens of what would my
mm,
80-year-old self want me to do. So when I wake up in the morning, there's no question of, am I going to do my warm up? Am I going to train? Am I going to eat healthy food? Am I going to surround myself with people who lift me up? Because to me, when when I'm that devoted to something, there's no decision to make.
mm,
There's no am I or am I not going to do it, because that like I can picture that goal so clearly, topping out on El Cap, and ideally one of my kids or my grandkids belayed me, so I'm like belaying
mm.
them up and like we hug, and like I see that and I'm like, oh my god, there is there's no way that I'm going to skip this today,
Mm,
because we all know someone in their 40s and up who's like, yeah, I've just got this thing with my shoulder. I could have taken care of it in my 20s, but I didn't bother. So now I can't lift my arm up.
mhm,
And I heard that too many times. I went, well, damn it. I'm going to do the things that those 50 and 60-year-olds wish they did.
yep,
And I too, when I like this whole thing started when I was hiking a mountain, and this old guy ran past me and I was dogging it. I was so tired. And he just like, whoop. He's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to break my record for when I was 20. And he goes up past me. And I was like, that guy. I want to
yeah,
be that guy.
yeah,
And now whenever, because I see this all the time, I'll be backpacking or rock climbing and I meet some old head, gray, and is still killing it.
yep,
And I always ask, what's your secret? What did you do? And it's always some variation of, you've got to keep moving.
mm,
You have to keep moving.
mhm,
So I look at the things that I love the most to do, and they're all mostly physical
mhm,
things. Like I love rock climbing, and I want to be able to do that for as long as I possibly can. So when I get up to do my warm up, or when I say no to pizza and ice cream, I'm not like discipline slapping my hand away or like forcing myself to do something I don't want to do, it's it immediately becomes easy because I know this is what my 80-year-old self would want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a thing, I don't know at what age children start to understand delayed gratification,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a big issue in
Mm-hmm.
our societies. Everything's instant.
Yeah.
Who's thinking 50 years ahead?
Not many.
And that's the thing
Yeah.
is it 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 astounds me how many times I'll say, oh yeah, I think what would my 80-year-old self want me to do? And people go, whoa, I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I put my clients in that frame of mind of what would your 80-year-old self want you to do right now, that's when it becomes easy for them.
Mm.
And granted, it's not perfect. They still
Mm-hmm.
stumble. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
But it's way easier for them to eat the frog, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
when they know I'm eating this frog for my 80-year-old self. Because I know 50 years ago, 50 years from now, I'm going to be so happy I did this.
Yeah. I love that. And one of my biggest questions surrounding that, which I'm sure you run into as well, a lot of people that I talk to, it's if I was to say, "What do you want?" they have a difficult time answering it. If I ask them what they don't want, they're able to list everything. Where why do you think that is? I feel like that's just the easiest way to word
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So humans are hardwired to be more loss averse.
Mhm.
You think about in the wild, there are so many consequences, so many things that could cause a catastrophic loss in your life. So like it was an evolutionary advantage to be thinking about, oh, I want to avoid that lion, or I want to stay away from that snake, and don't want to eat that,
Mhm.
than it was to like fantasize about what life could be like in the Garden of Eden, where I have everything I want.
Yeah.
So that is like, it's a totally normal human thing to go, oh well, I don't want that. I don't want that. Um, and it's a practice of reframing it, because
Mm.
you do have to overcome your own hardwiring
Mhm.
in that sense of even just the little things, like what do I want for dinner. Like that's I did
Mhm.
that. I said that to a friend of mine who he was having like a spiraling wishy-washy episode, and I
Mhm.
was like, dude, say you're gonna go to the bathroom and then get up and go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Like declare something simple and then go do it. That's the practice.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing here. Like I want to go outside. I'm gonna go outside.
Mhm.
And like it's the simple practices, because we too often uh we focus on the big goal,
Mhm.
which can also lead to procrastination, because that's like, well, how do I get all the way over there?
Mhm.
And you don't get to the big goal by achieving the big goal.
Mhm.
You don't deadlift 500 pounds because one day you walk in and decide you're going to do it. You deadlift 500 pounds because you work your way up incrementally from an empty bar
Mhm.
to, 50 pounds, 55, 50, 60, all the way up until you get to 500. And people, you know, because again, instant gratification, they don't think, they can't envision what could be possible to get them to this huge big goal that they want.
Mhm.
So they're only thinking about that, and they're not thinking about what are the little steps, the little actions. I always ask my clients, what is the smallest action you can take
Mhm.
right now? Is often
Yeah.
often the thing too. I love speed of implementation. Um, so when someone is having trouble with, figuring out what they want, it's something that evolves. Like I didn't just sit down and go, oh yeah, I want to climb El Cap. It
Mm-hmm.
started with, I want to run around in the mountains when I'm 80.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually it started with, I want to be the very first edition of this was like, I want to be that dude who looks like Santa Claus and is still benching 225.
Okay.
That was my goal. And it morphed into, I want to be able to run around the mountains for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And then only after thinking about, I want to run around the mountains my whole life, run around in the mountains my whole life. Then I had that spark where I went, oh, oldest person to climb El Cap. That's it. Like that, I knew I needed something specific, but I didn't know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of trying to like force something, I let it be. And then straight up was walking my dog. And I went, if oldest person to climb El Cap, that would be the expression of everything that I want for my life.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because of the fitness I have to have, the family I have to have, the business I have to have, the lifestyle I have to, all of those things have to come together
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to do that. And it evolved into that. It wasn't just immediately like wake up, I'm gonna climb El Cap. It was a
Mm-hmm.
process of getting
Yeah.
there.
So when we look at, I want to keep this deadlifting example just because I know more about deadlifting in a sense than I would uh, climbing, rock climbing, and El Cap and things of that nature. So when we have someone that's their goal is to deadlift 500 pounds, right? And we're allowing them to envision what that's going to look like and taking those small daily steps to get there. Is this when we're going to in turn hope that they're going to start to enjoy this process? Like if they start with 50 pounds and a couple weeks later they're up to 100, they're up to 150, and they're not enjoying the process, does this perhaps mean that when they get to 500, they're still not going to enjoy it and it's not going to be something that they actually enjoyed? Or taking these small steps still sucks for them, but once they hit that 500, then they'll have that sense of fulfillment. Do they
Mm.
need to still enjoy that process? Or if they're not enjoying that process, does it mean that possibly they didn't, that actually wasn't the goal that they were looking for?
That's the thing. If someone
Mm,
is really just dragging their ass and they don't want to lift,
mm,
then I'd be like, well, do you really want to deadlift 500 pounds then?
mhm,
Because this is what it takes. If you don't enjoy this, you're probably not going to enjoy deadlifting 500 pounds. So let's find something else that'll actually excite you. And great that we can cross this off the list as something we don't have to think about anymore.
mhm. All right, great. So when we look at procrastinators in general, how about we start to go this way? Does everyone procrastinate in a sense? I think that's an easy way to just
Yeah.
lay that down.
Yeah. It happens in degrees.
Hmm.
I talked to some people who are like, yeah, it's, I do it sometimes, but it's manageable.
Hmm.
And I mean, I do it still.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
there's a broken toilet seat that I still have to send a like maintenance request to my
Hmm.
landlord for that I could have done at any moment in the last few weeks. And I still haven't done
Hmm.
it. You know, it it happens in degrees because then the other end of the spectrum is, someone who doesn't get their taxes done
Hmm.
until the very last minute,
Hmm.
or uh someone who, puts a work assignment off until the night before it's due. So yeah, I think we all do it to a degree. And the people that I'm best at helping are more the last minute right at the end of the deadline because I could have done it any other time but I didn't,
Hmm.
kind
Okay.
of people who are really, were like, procrastination is really a debilitating thing for them.
Hmm. Here's the question that I've been looking for. Um, when we let me find this again because I had a really good question for you. Here we go. When we look at procrastination, right, in terms of I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. versus 7 a.m., okay? I believe that we could take that as procrastination of you're delaying getting up early, okay? If you have to be at work at 6, you're getting it up at 5. if you don't have to be at work at 6, you may get up at 7, even though you told yourself that you were going to get up at 5. Why is it easier when we are ge- when we are relying when someone else is relying on us as opposed to ourselves are just relying on ourselves?
Mm.
Where does
Yeah.
that pattern start to happen? Yeah.
So it comes back to really the same things as like the perfectionism
Mm,
avoidance is if you're holding me accountable, then and I don't show up, oh, that is like ultimately shameful
mm,
and embarrassing. And, I'm going to be worried about losing my job.
mhm,
If so, it it really it's the a rose by a different name. It's ultimately, if that's the right turn of phrase, it's ultimately the same thing because what's motivating you to get up isn't a desire to get up and
mhm,
enjoy your day. It's fear
mhm.
of, oh, what if I'm late? What if
Oh,
I don't
okay.
show up on time? Oh, that's going to
Okay.
be terrible. I'm going to be so embarrassed. Everyone's going
Yes.
to like reprimand me. That's going to be so ashamed. I'm going to be so ashamed if I miss
Mhm,
this because I slept in.
mhm,
So it all comes back around to that same fear
mhm,
of essentially making a mistake.
mhm. So, if I was if I told myself that I was gonna get up at 5, but got up at 7, is there just a different kind of fear of the fear of letting myself down or the fear goes away and that's why I help me understand a little bit more about why someone isn't getting up, just from an internal source as opposed to an external source?
Because often the people who procrastinate tend to be more externally motivated.
Okay.
And usually like you can trace that back to like grade school.
Mhm.
Most procrastinators I work with were former straight A students,
Mm.
and they only got acknowledgement and appreciation because they got a good grade or
Okay.
because they won the game or
Mhm.
they got the right superlative or something like that. So they grew up being conditioned to be externally motivated.
Mhm.
So it's essentially it's a learned response. People get taught in our school systems to
Mhm.
be externally motivated. So then when they get out into the real world and they realize that 90% of it is on you for motivation,
Mhm.
that's when the problem occurs. Like I know like people who they like former military
Mhm.
especially, they come right out of school, they go right into the military where they're told, when to wake up, when to eat, what to wear, where to go, when to train. They're given all of the direction in their lives. And then they get out of the military and it's like, all right, you're on your own now.
Mm.
And they don't know how to be intrinsically motivated
Yeah.
because they weren't taught it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I've got I could get up on a whole nother soapbox about our current school system
Mhm.
because I was homeschooled, so I got to see it from the outside.
Oh, wow, okay.
What a sham it is,
Yeah.
and it's it really it creates sheep,
Mm.
who they
Mhm.
just follow along. They go, oh, I got the grades. I went to college. I got a degree. I got a job that pays the bills. I'm supporting my family. Why aren't I happy?
Mhm.
This is what they told me
Mhm.
was going to make me happy, but it's not. So then they're in this place of on paper having the American dream,
Mhm.
but it's not actually fulfilling for them.
Mhm.
And because they were never taught how to be intrinsically motivated
Mhm.
or internally motivated, they don't know what to do.
Mhm.
Where do I even start?
Yeah.
And it'll show up right there of like, I want to get up at 5 a.m. And then the alarm goes off. Ah, getting up at 7.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, I'm I have my own thoughts on the school system as well. I was just substitute teaching for a little while. I wanted to know what it was like, and it is chaos in there. I'll tell you that. It is pure chaos. Um, we can go down that in a moment, but at the same time, first I wanted to hear, so internal motivation, external motivation, how we're motivated, okay, to do certain tasks, I'll say. So is there one way that's better versus another? I'm sure that you have to have both internal and external motivation to do certain tasks, and one may work better for you than another. If someone struggles to be internally motivated, would it be just throwing a Band-Aid on it if I said, "All right, if I don't get up at 5 AM and text Ben or call Ben, then I have to send Ben 50 bucks." That would be me just creating an external motivation for myself. Or do you believe it would be better for me to find that internal motivation for myself? Or do you
Mm.
think there's a way to do to do both?
Yeah, I mean, the the ultimate achievement would be having the internal motivation, being able
Mhm.
to develop that.
Mhm.
Um, and that takes a lot of practice.
Mhm.
Um, because you're right. If unless if your goal is, like if you have a fitness goal
Yep.
and you can only train at 6 a.m.,
Yep.
then as your coach, then I would say, yeah, text me
Mhm.
when you get up,
Mhm.
because it's like at that point it's like we're just trying to get you to the goal. We need
Mhm.
to get the habit ingrained of getting up and training that early.
Mhm.
When it comes to then developing the internal motivation, it again comes back to what are you devoted to?
Okay.
What
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
what is so deep in there
Mhm.
in your heart that that when asked if you would do something for that, there is no question. The answer
Mhm.
is automatically yes. And it takes work to find that. Um, but yeah, that's what I would like immediately do with a client who had an issue like that is
Hmm.
like, why do you want to get up that early in the first place?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it could be it's like, oh, I read in a book somewhere that you're supposed to get up early. It's like, fuck that book. What do
Yeah.
you want?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I was just looking for if there was one option better than another. I felt the internal to definitely be that's where we want people to be on a desire and devotion level, but I didn't know if um just taking different areas of your life and creating external motivation or a creating a negative situation for it in a sense, me having to send you over 50 bucks was just putting a band-aid on it. I guess it's very dependent on the task at hand. So, but
Yeah, and
yeah, continue.
what what that reminds me of, it was like, where did I see this quote? Is like, if you shame people into action, you get actors.
Okay. Huh.
They're not actually doing it. They're just doing it because they want to avoid feeling shameful.
Mhm,
That's not going to be fulfilling
mhm.
if you're just doing it to avoid shame, because you're not doing it to do the thing.
Yeah.
You're again, it's almost becoming again a procrastination, like the ultimate procrastination of not wanting to face uncomfortable things,
Mhm,
is what you could boil procrastination down to, is that. So if it's yeah, then if you were to go like, oh, I'll send you 50 bucks if I don't do this, that then is compounding the problem,
okay.
because you're it's kind of like drinking Diet Coke.
Mhm,
It's like there's shit that's worse for you in Diet Coke than in regular Coke.
mm,
So it's like that's not going to accomplish the task that you want either.
yeah. I'd love to hear a little bit about how it was growing up for you being homeschooled and seeing, um, other children in the school system from afar.
Yeah. So actually, I I didn't see them from afar because all my best friends growing up lived right down the street and they all went to school.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
so
Yeah.
I remember I'd be like waiting, it's like, oh, 3:30, they're home. Call them. Um, and I could sum it up with, what I said to my mom after my first day going to school was that I wanted to play football, and that's the only
Mhm,
reason I went to high school.
mhm.
Um, she said, "How was your first day of school?" And I said, "Everyone's really mean to each other." That was my first impression. And yeah, like what I noticed about like the friends I had that went to school is they'd find that thing that you thought was really cool and then they'd make you feel stupid for it.
Mm, yeah.
And I remember, we had a homeschool group, like a bunch of families that would get together every Monday and go to a park or go ice skating, go on a field trip, something like that.
Oh, cool.
And every now and then, someone new would join the group.
Mhm.
And almost every single time, if they had been to school and then switched to homeschooling, they were an asshole.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah, like that held true in so many instances where this kid would be being a real dick to everybody, and then we'd
Mhm,
find out, oh, he used to go to school. And it's because you lock kids inside
mhm,
in a prison for 8 hours and expect them to just sit there
mm,
and learn useless crap. And that the pent up energy that they're not expressing
mhm,
by playing outside, that festers
mhm,
and it turns into aggression.
mhm.
So then they've got to get their fun
Yeah,
from somewhere.
yeah,
So they get it by picking on other kids.
that's fair.
And it completely removes one of the most important, I would say the most important piece of human development, which is fun.
Mhm.
I have this sticker on so many things. Fun is the point. That's my motto. Because like when you think about it, the reason you work, the reason you take care of yourself, the reason you do anything ultimately is to have fun.
Mhm.
You want to have the freedom to have fun with your family.
Yeah.
You want to have the freedom to travel. All of those things, it all comes down to wanting to have fun.
Mhm,
And when I love there's these two studies. One is bears. They
mhm.
found that bears who play more live longer. And also that the majority of death row inmates weren't played with when they were kids.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. And something I know you're going to be going into in Lifted.
Mhm,
Um, as you go deeper into that work, you will find there are a lot of men with daddy didn't play with me
mhm,
as their story.
mm.
They grew up not playing with their dad,
Yeah.
and that manifests in adulthood as uh, not believing that anyone likes you, that
Mhm,
nothing you do is cool,
mhm,
that no one's going to care about what you have to say.
mhm.
And that's where it comes from
Yeah.
because you learn boundaries, you learn how to handle challenging emotions, you learn your physical limitations when you play and when
Mhm,
you have fun. And that gets completely removed from school.
mhm.
Where I remember even having an argument with the valedictorian of my class because her sister was neck and neck to be valedictorian with this other girl who was in honors choir.
Mhm.
She's like, she shouldn't get honors credit for choir. Like, well, why not? Because it's not math. I was like, well, you're really good at math. I'm really good at singing. Why can't I get honors credit for that?
Yeah.
And the arts are always placed lower
Yeah.
than the STEM subjects,
Yeah.
but those are the ones where you have fun.
Mhm,
And when you're not having that, you'll go find it in other places, in alcohol, drugs, any kind of addiction that you can think of.
mhm.
it's a lot of it. There's, it's on one end, it's trying to run away from a traumatic pain. On the other, it's I just want to feel something.
Mm.
And that feeling you're really chasing when you're going out to a bar night after night after night is the fun you had when you were playing with your action figures
Mm.
or rolling around wrestling your dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're actually chasing.
Yeah.
But most people don't know that. And fun is seen as something frivolous when it's actually something that's vital.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the more people I've been able to talk to, it's amazing how much of our lives are just shaped at such a young age. And we know it, but at the same time, we don't go back and look at everything that we have done. We're almost just like, okay, that's back there and let's forget about it. How do I fix me today without looking back? Like it's all right, this is my present moment. How do I fix it? As opposed to, oh well, let me take a walk down memory lane, and that's the majority of where a lot of patterns and beliefs come from, and people are either oblivious to it, unaware of it, or they don't want to. And it's very interesting to be able to talk to so many people, and that's so much of the work that they have done on themselves in order to get to the point where they are today and think the way they think today. What I'd love to hear from you is a couple of action steps that we could take as parents. Now, I say we, but I am not a parent, on how to allow their child to have more fun while also being in the public school system, because not everyone has $60,000 to go spend on a private school. Not everyone has the ability to go and homeschool their child right now. So for someone that may be listening to this that is a parent, their child is in public school where they're in that seat for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, what can they do for their child today, to help them have a better experience overall?
Encourage their interests and their passions.
Mm.
If they wanna if
Hmm.
they wanna learn guitar, let them learn guitar.
Hmm.
If they want to go be a if they want to major in dance in college, let them major in dance in college.
Hmm.
Like in whatever spark you see in your kid, stoke that flame. Because something that I'm really grateful for about how I was raised is the method that my mom used was called unschooling, where
Okay.
there's very little structure
Yeah.
and kids are allowed to pursue whatever they're interested in. I wanted to
Hmm.
learn trumpet. I went off and on a couple times. I was like, yeah, not for me.
Hmm.
And that was okay. I what and what that's what I've grown into from that is I'm a multi-talented individual. I can sing, dance, tap dance, play the ukulele at the same time, do magic, rock climb, uh, coach people. Like I could
Hmm.
do all of these things because I was always encouraged. I mean, I majored in musical theater
Hmm.
in college and
Hmm.
performed, all over the country. And I was encouraged to do that from the moment I made that choice.
Hmm.
And like there's so many people now who like even I have a client now who wants to become a screenwriter and um for the longest time was like kind of like manipulated and shamed into doing the family business. And here he is now in his 50s going, yeah, I want to do this thing that I've always wanted to do. And because he was never encouraged to do it. Like parents often do the same thing that the kids at school are doing. Oh, you think that's cool? It's stupid.
Yeah.
You're never going to make money doing that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, it's well intentioned.
Hmm.
Parents want their kids to be successful. So it's like, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go do something where you can make money because that's how you get happy, right?
Mhm.
That's how you get the American dream, which we already know doesn't work.
Mhm.
Um, but in the long run, that turns them into really unhappy people.
Mhm.
Whereas if you encourage them to follow the things that they're interested in and create opportunities for them to dive deeper into those things that they're interested in, that is going to do so much more for them in adulthood
Yeah.
than a degree. Because at
Mm.
that point, if even if they get a degree and they go into this field and then they realize, oh, this isn't for me, they know they can do something else.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, no, I got this engineering degree. I have to be an engineer
Mhm.
because that's the only thing that I know how to do. Because two, I mean, humans, while we do often revere specialists,
Mhm.
we're not designed to be specialists. We're designed to have a bunch of different skills.
Mhm.
And I think it behooves everybody to cultivate a variety of skills in your life, because then if you get to a point in your career where you go, wow, this is sucking my soul,
Mhm.
I never want to look at another spreadsheet again, then you already know, okay, I have other talents, I have other skills, I know I can do something else, and I know I'll be supported in following my passion. That's how you end up with a happy adult.
Mhm.
It doesn't come from like shoving their head into a textbook.
Yeah. No, you're a really cool guy that has a lot of different um perspectives, ways to look at life, and the biggest thing is that you're able to get results with clients. That's what I look for, you know? For a long time for me it was I had struggled to um I had done personal training for a long time, but I struggled to get the results that I wanted for these people, and many of them following some type of plan that I gave them was enough, and for some people it wasn't, and I knew that there was more to it, I just didn't know what it was. And throughout being able to talk to so many people on the podcast and things like this and discovering their new uh not even their new, but their beliefs that they have around the gym themselves and all these different aspects and how everything stems from perhaps what they may have gone through. And there's so many different layers that I'm able to unravel with people now and get them real results that they're looking for, as opposed to, oh well, you have to go and do 10 squats, so just go and do 10 squats. It's much more than that. So how I would like to end the podcast, we have a question from the previous guest. All right. And I will ask you to leave a question for us as well. But our question is from Ellie Roberts, who I just interviewed about an hour ago. And if you could only eat one dessert for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, easy, easy. It's my mom's chocolate peanut butter chocolate ganache cake. Oh my God. It it's the most glorious thing I've ever eaten.
Oh, I love that. That sounds delicious. I as soon as she said it, I was ready for dessert. She was talking about some strawberry rhubarb pie that she gets from a local bakery down the street, and yeah, there's a lot of good desserts out there.
That
So,
sounds good.
Ben, I appreciate your time. Why don't you let us know where we can find you, chat with you, and work with you potentially?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Ben Joy Walker. That's all one word. And yeah, check out the content that I'm putting up there. And
Yeah.
if some of that resonates with you, there's a link in my bio. You can book a 15-minute call where we can chat and I can see, how I can best support you. And I'd love to talk to anyone who
Hmm.
listens who's struggling with procrastination because I'm here to support.
For sure. So, thank you, Ben. I really enjoyed this. You're a really neat guy.
My
So,
pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
all right. Thanks, guys. That'll do it for today. Please make sure that you rate the show 5 stars, do all that jazz and everything that you don't do already. So thanks, guys.